When we think of spring, we usually think of hope, right? New beginnings, fresh starts. But what happens when that season, that whole idea, is stolen from a child? That's what we're going to get into today, exploring Anise Zhang's incredible book, Lost Spring, and the stories of children whose childhoods are lost to labor. This line from the author herself really sets the stage for us. We're about to dive into two lives that are very different on the surface, but tragically similar underneath. They're both trapped by what she calls grinding poverty and traditions. It's a look at a cycle of exploitation that starts almost from the day they're born. All right, so our first story takes us to the garbage dumps on the outskirts of Delhi. This is where we meet a young boy named Saheb, who is living a world away from the home his family had to flee in Bangladesh. And right away, we run into this really deep, kind of bitter irony. His name, Sahib-e-Alam, literally means Lord of the Universe. But his reality? He's a rag picker, spending his days digging through trash. As the author points out, if he actually knew what his name meant, he'd have a very hard time believing it. Sahib is part of what the author describes as an army of barefoot boys. They all live in a place called Simapuri, a settlement of more than 10,000 rag pickers right on the edge of Delhi. These are squatter families who came from Bangladesh way back in 1971. For them, survival is everything. And survival means one thing: picking rags. So for the adults there, garbage is just a means to an end. It's their daily bread. It's the roof over their heads, period. But for the children, for a kid like Sahib, it's a little different. It's still wrapped up in a sense of wonder. There's always that hope, the hope of finding a rupee, or maybe even a 10 rupee note that keeps them going. Then, one day, there's a shift. Sahib gets a job at a tea stall. He's earning a steady 800 rupees a month, plus all his meals. And on paper, that sounds like a step up, right? A move towards something more stable. But is it really? And this is where we see the real cost of that job. The author notices that the steel canister he carries for the tea stall seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly. See, that plastic bag was his. This canister belongs to his boss. So even though he has a wage, Sahib has lost his freedom. He's not his own master anymore. And that carefree look he used to have is just gone. Okay, now let's go somewhere else. We're traveling to Firozabad, a town that's famous for its glass spangles. And here, we meet Mukesh, a boy who, unlike Sahib, dares to dream of being his own master. This is his quiet little rebellion. In a town where basically every single family is stuck in the same generation's-old job of making bangles, Mukesh looks the author right in the eye and says he wants to be a motor mechanic. His dream, as the author puts it, looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets. Now let this number really sink in for a second. 20,000. That is the estimated number of children working illegally in the glass furnaces of Firozabad. This isn't some rare thing. Child labor is basically the foundation of this whole industry. And the conditions are just appalling. These kids are working in what the book calls dingy cells without air and light. They spend their entire days hunched around these dangerously hot furnaces, welding pieces of colored glass into bangles. The physical toll is just immense. Their eyes get more used to the dark inside than the light outside. And because of that, a lot of them start losing their eyesight before they even become adults. It's a job that literally robs them of their vision. This question from Mukesh's grandmother really gets to the heart of the problem. She's watched her own husband go blind from the dust of polishing bangles, but she doesn't see it as a choice. To her, it's destiny, a God-given lineage. And that deep belief is one of the most powerful things keeping these families trapped. So you see, whether it's picking through garbage in Simapuri or welding glass in Firozabad, both Sahib and Mukesh are caught in the exact same kind of trap, what the author calls the vicious circle. So, what is this vicious circle? Well, it's this whole system that keeps them stuck. It's a web of middlemen, moneylenders, police, and politicians who all profit from their work. Generations get tangled in this trap, and over time, years of just mind-numbing work kills any ability to even dream of a different life. And there's the common thread, right? For Sahib, it's poverty that pushes him from the relative freedom of rag picking into basically being a servant. For Mukesh, it's the weight of tradition, that God-given lineage that tells him there's no other path. For both boys, these two forces work together to steal their childhood. And this brings us all the way back to the title of the book itself. Spring is a metaphor for youth, for potential, for growth. It's the season of promise. So we're left with this final, haunting question. For millions of children like Sahib and Mukesh, their spring never really comes. It's lost in garbage dumps and hot furnaces. And the question isn't just about what happens to them, but what does it say about a society that allows their spring to be stolen in the first place?